Hi, everyone. Welcome to SF Doc Fest. We're so excited to be joined here today with our friends and family shorts filmmakers. Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you. I'm Sarah Flores. I program the shorts here at SF Doc Fest. I'm so excited to jump into our conversation. I would love to kick it off by just having you all introduce yourself, tell us the film that you're here with and what your role was. And we'll start off with Zudong. Hi.
Hey, hi.
Oh,
My name.
sorry. One more thing to add, and tell us why you made this movie. What did you do on it, and what was the genesis of your project?
Oh, wow. Okay, so a lot of information here. Again, my name is Shudong. My film is called We Have a Show, and my role was the director, cinematographer, and editor. Next to me is our producer.
My name is Meng Lian. Hi, everyone.
And our film is well, focus on a couple of artists who have dedicated their lives into an Asian art form called shadow puppetry, which originated in Asia about 100 years ago, but is now kind of dying there. So, however, I found these two artists in New York who are still practicing and performing this art form. So this project follows the journey as they prepare for an upcoming shadow puppet show, along with their daily lives and love story. That's it.
Thank you. Great. Hi, Jason. Welcome. Why don't you tell us the film that you're here with and what was the genesis of this project? How did you get involved with it?
Hi. Okay, so I'm Jason Sprung. I'm the producer with Ting for Year of Bees. The genesis is my friend James from college has been the caretaker of the Wyckoff House Museum for the past 8 years, and it's the oldest house in all of New York. It's from 1652, and the house is really unique. And my friend James is this really interesting guy. He's like a Renaissance kind of man. He does a little bit of everything, and he keeps bees. And I just thought like it would be interesting to kind of do a documentary about him and kind of show him off and like what his life is. But then it kind of turned into a documentary also about like my friendship with James. And Ting, the director, kind of did a great job capturing James and I's friendship.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ting, tell us a little bit more about how you got involved with Year of Bees and got to kind of help shape this project.
Yeah, of course. So Jason and I have been friends since 2009. We met at a film program when we were studying abroad in Czech Republic. And we've kept in touch over the years. And one day, Jason just came to me and he said, I have a friend who's a beekeeper who lives in the oldest house in New York. And I think he's really interesting. Do you want to make a documentary about James? And that was in 2022 at the end of the pandemic. So a lot of people were interested in kind of reconnecting with nature, growing their own food. And so I thought this would be a really interesting subject, especially for millennials of our generation who are rethinking their lifestyle, trying to be more self-sufficient and trying to be more environmentally conscious. And then I went to visit James, and then Jason was there interacting. He's always there, talking to James and learning about bees from James. And I thought this is more than just a documentary about James and his life. This is also about their friendship. So we shot this over many weekends or weekdays throughout the year. We captured 4 seasons, and we had no idea what it's going to be, but it turned out to be a little short portrait of these two guys and their kind of interesting, heartwarming friendship.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Hi, Madison. Welcome. Tell us about the film. Tell us the film that you're here with, what you did, and what made you want to be involved in this story.
Yeah, so my name's Madison Cavalciri, and I co-directed The Unknown Metal Box with my partner Maddie Stambler, who's actually on a documentary shoot in California this weekend, so she couldn't be here. But we were both co-directors and producers. She was the main cinematographer on the project, but I did a couple of the smaller shoots. And then Robbie, our main character, who might be in and out of this talk, he was the main character of the story, but also ended up being a producer on the film as well. And how it all got started, it really fell into our lap during the pandemic. I was a grad student, and one of my part-time jobs was helping our university facilitate these free art workshops. That way we could bring lessons to the community. So whether it was painting or screen printing, and Robbie is a local, he's a father, he's a screen printer. He does other work on the side, so he's kind of a jack of all trades. And he was the teacher of this free art workshop I was kind of helping to facilitate. And we just started talking, and he's just, hopefully you have met him through the film, so I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about once you guys get to listen to this Q&A. But really, he just started talking about, Madison, you will never believe what just happened to me, because he was in the middle of this. Our film really started in real time as this was happening to Robbie, and he made it his pandemic project to go through a box of negatives that he had from like the 80s from a thrift store. He just so happened to kind of open it during the pandemic, and made it his part-time job to scan them all in. And these photographs end up being absolutely wild, gorgeous, and he's trying to figure out who they belong to. So we went on this journey with him. I end up saying, this will make a great documentary. Got Maddie on board, and we worked with him for a few years, ended up being like 2 years. And we traveled with him to reunite these photos of a loved one with his family, which was amazing because their family member, who was the photographer and had taken all the pictures, died in a tragic way. So reuniting them with memories of their brother kind of helped reconnect them as a family unit as well. So there ends up being kind of a twofold story there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, Robbie. Thanks for joining us from the wilderness.
Hi, thanks.
Talk a little bit about this process for you. I mean, you were kind of already underway on this taking, and then you had Maddie and Madison come along for the ride. How did it feel to not only undertake this kind of mission to reunite this art with the family, but also to have it documented and work with filmmakers on it?
It was really wild. It was really interesting trying to just having this box for 30 years in my closet, scanning it, and then meeting Madison, and like I put it on a Facebook page, and then I started getting more and more clues, and then it just it's sort of built over time. It was fascinating actually to work with filmmakers about this kind of stuff, because I think friends of mine were telling me this should be a podcast or something, because it was so interesting. Every time I scanned a new roll of film in or a new strip of negatives, a new clue would be introduced, and I'd figure this stuff out. But it was really interesting doing it with these guys because they really had such a curiosity about it. And they had a little bit of a grant, so for some money we could fly out to New Mexico, meet up with the family once we did all of the research and stuff. And to meet the family was great, and to video it is really fantastic. And I think it's all real, and we really met the people, met the family. They're awesome people, and it was great. It's interesting. I wasn't really that nervous being on camera. Sometimes it's you get nervous being on a camera, and I wasn't too bad. I think mainly because I think Madison and Maddie are both really nice people, and they're very honestly interested in topics and are interested in documentary filmmaking, and so it was very much like, let's uncover this together. So that was really cool. So it was fun.
Thank you so much. Shudong, I would love to talk a little bit more about how you found your subjects, right? Like there's like an interest in shadow puppetry and like the Chinese art of puppetry, but how did you actually like connect with your subjects and decide to tell this story?
So I always have the interest in culture and art, and China is where I originally come from. So I especially focuses on the Asia's culture and art. I know shadow puppetry is originated from Asia, and I think that idea of making a documentary about shadow puppetry is actually came from my last documentary project when I was trying to make some animation, I was thinking, okay, what is the, kind of the replacement of animation? Maybe the shadow puppetry as an art form can be kind of the function of animation in a documentary. So that was the first time I was thinking about, okay, is there anyone else in this world still doing this art form? Because I know it's dying. Then the next year, once I finished my last documentary project, I start just doing some research about shadow puppetry, and I just simply type shadow puppetry in the United States. I just Google it, and the topest result was a studio called Chinese Theater
Works.
Chinese Theater Works, and there's an email address. So I sent them an email. They didn't give me any response. So I constantly call them, and eventually they answer my phone, and we arranged an in-person meeting at their studio in New York. I think last February. That's how we get started.
Last year, February.
Yeah, last February.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Ting, I'm gonna start this off with you because I have kind of a two-part question. Obviously, you and Jason were already friends when you got involved with this, but what was it like as a filmmaker to come in to a group of friends and really kind of explore what that looks like, also through like this like structure of keeping bees and kind of shedding off kind of modern conveniences? How was that process for you as not an outsider, but as like a person observing a friendship that you're kind of already within?
Yeah, so it's definitely tricky because it's not a very organized documentary shoot. It was just me with a camera doing sound, and really just spending time with them. So it took a while for me to really figure out what I was doing there, because sometimes I feel like, is this going to be a film? Like what is the direction I'm going for here? So what I tried initially is to kind of to just to just be there and just observe and capture everything. But as time went on, this project took more than 12 months. Then I kind of started to learn the routine that James had on the farm. He had many chores that he had to do. Beekeeping is only one of them. So I wanted to capture him doing different things. He is also I think an aspiring Renaissance man. He is a poet, and he makes art, and he also makes furniture. So there are a lot of things that we just wanted to capture visually. So there will be days when I say, okay, today we're going to film James doing this activity, and Jason could participate in however way he wants. So that's how we went about doing it. But really everything came together in the editing process. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And Jason, kind of the inverse, having a friendship documented in this way, like, was there anything through the process that was surprising to you, or that made you feel kind of weary? Like you're opening yourself up in a way that can be intimate. Can you talk about that for you?
Yeah. I think one of the things I've done in my life is I've told a lot of stories at the Moth Storytelling Show. So I've always been, and you go up, I don't know if you know the Moth Storytelling Show, you go up and you tell a true story about something in your life for 5 or 6 minutes. So yeah, so I was like, I love, putting myself out there, and as with regards to Year of Bees, yeah, it was funny because a lot of it has to of what I talked about in the documentary was just like my own personal dating failures. And at first, when I watched a cut of it, I was a little unnerved and wondering if this was good. But then when we showed it to some friends, they thought like, oh, this is interesting and relatable. Everyone struggles with dating. And so we decided to keep some of that in. But yeah, I thought it was interesting, and yeah, I'm okay with putting my personal life out there.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Maddie and Robbie, I would love to kind of dig in a little bit more to what it was like, not only undergoing this journey, but also you're bringing a family into this and you don't quite know how, like, who you're going to find or how they're going to react. And maybe Robbie, let's start with you. Like, did you have any apprehensions about this, like in terms of finding who these people were and then being like, here's a thing that maybe could be a little bit traumatizing, but also we're going to film it. Like, how did that feel for you as kind of the archivist and detective of this media?
You know, that's a great question. And that's something I thought about as I was going along. Each film, like each strip of negatives that I would process, I was thinking, what would happen if I found these people? What would they be like? And you know, there's people drinking beer. They're on hunting trips. I don't know their background at all. Yeah, I really had no idea what to expect. So when I reached out to the brother, which is Rudy, he's in San Diego, and I got a phone call back from him. It was a very interesting thing to hear his voice over the phone because I could feel like I could hear the voice of the guy, his brother, and it just sounded like him. So these folks are Latinos. They're live in New Mexico. They're from a old New Mexican family in Albuquerque, and I know the accent because I grew up in New Mexico, and I could hear like that accent, and it was great. And I don't know. I think actually Madison was really interesting. We contacted Lorraine, which is the sister of the guy, the photographer. It was very interesting that she was very approachable and very nice, but I really had no idea any of their background. But they were super nice people, and we went in and just smiled and said, "Here are your photos," and they were thrilled to just get pictures of their brother back. But for me, I was nervous for sure because I really had no idea, but I was willing to give the photos back to him. And there was actually one family, one of the wedding photo people. I don't think it's in the documentary. There's a whole wedding that was taking place that I gave the photos back to the family, and I didn't even get a thank you, but I just sent them to them, and that's it, you know. But I didn't know what to
Yeah,
expect with the
sometimes
Pachecos.
that's all you can expect.
Yeah, well, Madison might want to
Thank
chime
you
in
so
on
much.
this one too.
Yeah, and I have a little abbreviated question or modified question for you, Madison. You know, Robbie connected all these pieces, but you still have to like show up with your camera and make sure that everyone feels comfortable and well taken care of as they're being documented. Can you talk about what it was like for you and Maddie to approach from the directorial angle?
Yeah, I mean, I think this story was really sensitive because not only were we just, coming into this family's life, but we were telling a story about their loved one who is no longer around to tell his own story. So I think that's something that was highly debated throughout the process. And what wasn't shown in the documentary is we probably got in touch with the first sibling like a year before we actually went out there, or close to it, like 6 to 8 months at the very least. And so this was a process like where we did tons of FaceTiming, we did tons of phone calls, and we ended up almost bringing them on in a producer role in a sense where they did get to see cuts of the film and parts of the film and ultimately approve this version. And they ended up actually not having the one change they had was one of the sisters had gotten married, so she wanted her last name changed. So there wasn't anything too big, but I was really moved because like Robbie said, I think some of the siblings were more open to it than others, but ultimately after meeting us and talking to us for a long period of time, they were down for the process and down for us to bring cameras in. But what was interesting and what we didn't plan is when we got there, they ended up, and this part didn't make it into the film, but their mother, who has since passed away, was actually still alive at the point that we were filming The Unknown Metal Box, and she was in a home and very sick, in her last few weeks at that point. And they invited us to come in and show these photos to their mother, who couldn't really speak at that time, but you could tell that she was recognizing these photos of her son. And again, I think something that resonates with a lot of people in this film is, I think we take for granted pictures, right? We're just able to pick up our phone and snap one. I have thousands from last weekend, but back in that time, they only had like 1 or 2 photos of their loved one who passed away. And I think, like Robbie was saying, there was a lot of other stories that didn't end up in the documentary about us reuniting different folks with people who had passed on, right? With this archive of their loved ones. And a lot of them died in very tragic ways. So I think that was sensitive, as well as, we wanted to bring these memories to them, but we didn't know how that they were going to feel about it because there was some trauma associated with that.
That's awesome. There's just such a need for the conversation on ethics in documentary filmmaking, because you're participating in somebody's story and they're trusting you to tell it. And I think that y'all treated that really beautifully. And Jason, to your credit, like allowing that to kind of be turned on yourself. And in the terms of, we have a show, right? Like showing something that is like so beautiful and representative of like what's so special about like that particular kind of storytelling and art making. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have today for our Q&A. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your art with our amazing audience at SF DocFest. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
So much.